come into some kind of conflict, but it is your responsibility to put forward what is right. One of the main qualities of a reporter is to have a good hold on language. 100% of what I have thought will be communicated to you in exactly the same manner in which I intended. So that is also very, very important as a journalist. You must look at your work as worship. Hello everyone and welcome to a new session of your journalistic journey. I am Zubin Paul, your journalism faculty from Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence. Today we are going to be dealing with a very interesting topic which is very, very important for every reporter, for every journalist out there, and that is qualities of a reporter. What are the qualities that a reporter needs to have in order to sustain and survive in this journalism world? Let's take a look. The first one, he needs to have the nose for news. What is the nose for news? It is the most important quality of a reporter. The most important quality. It doesn't mean that you need to have news written on your nose. Please don't take it in that sense. The nose for news is something much more deeper. You need to have good news hunting capacity. A journalist is always looked forward to having a keen sense of what is news, of what is not news. This kind of a sense has to be developed over time in any journalist. Must be careful so as to find out what is unique and unusual to many people. That is the main point of this whole topic, that is unique and unusual. The person, the journalist, needs to have an idea of what is unique and unusual to the people. That means something which people are not used to, some news or some information that people have not received before, or something that can be of interest to people. That whole skill of gauging that one parameter is what is called as nose for news. Then even a tiny matter can lead to a huge scandalous news item if the roots are dug up firmly. That is a very, very important point. We may think that some matter may be very small, very negligible in our perspective, but a good journalist will always know that this story can lead to something bigger. That comes with experience, that comes with skill, development of that skill. So that thing has to be developed, and it comes with time, it comes with practice, but the key word is practice. Disseminate news effectively. So once you have the nose for news, it will become much more easy for you to disseminate the news effectively. What does that mean? It means that you can communicate your news much more effectively in the manner in which the public can understand much more easily. They can get more interested in what you're speaking. The same matter can be put forward by many people in different ways, but the way in which you put it forward should be of interest to the public. So that is the whole essence of nose for news. The next point, curiosity, alertness, and impartiality. What does this mean? You must have curiosity and focus on details. The key word here being details. Why have all these 3 points been put into the single point? Because all these three are interlinked. A journalist always have to have that curiosity, and unless the journalist is alert enough, the curiosity goes waste. If you are alert, only then your curiosity can be fed by some information. And mainly being impartial. These are the basic values of any good journalist, any good journalist that can actually, make a difference. That is what you need to aim for, to be a journalist that can make a difference. So these three have been put into the single point because they are quite basic to the qualities of being a good reporter. Be alert to probable news, news sources, and have news sense. Be very attentive here. Probable news in the sense you must have a forethought of what may happen in certain situations. When something is predicted, this predicament, this prediction capability has to be there in you. It may not be right all the time, but still, If you are first to catch that news, it will always be good. And this comes again with time, with development of your skill, and most importantly with improving your knowledge in that particular niche area which you are interested in. It may be politics, it may be sports, it may be entertainment, it may be anything, it may be crime. The more you are in the zone for that, the more you will be able to gauge the probability of something happening. So that needs to be developed. Then news sources, you have to be alert on all the sources of news that you have around you. You never know when a good item of news may come from where. So you need to be very open-minded to all your news sources, not just your own reporting. Have a look at other sources of news as well, and then have news sense. What does this mean? News sense. News sense, as I have said in the previous slide, you need to have a nose for news. You need to know what people are actually interested in, what people will want to know ahead, what people may be interested in reading further in further editions of the particular newspaper. So that can account for good news sense. You know what the audience actually wants. Be quick to reach the destination for news gathering of important stories. This is a basic quality of any reporter. You will definitely have seen in many films, as soon as something happens, then there is huge horde of news reporters that come holding a mic and asking for interviews, and the person is surrounded by reporters. So that is just an analogy of what actually has to be done by a reporter in order to be the one to break the news to the audience, because fresh news is what will give your organization and your channel the benefit in terms of the entire competition within the media industry. That is why people always rush to the destination to try to be the first one to gather that particular news. Be equally critical to inspect and evaluate all related sides of that news story. This is where the impartiality comes in, because unless you are being impartial, unless you are being unbiased in the way of your reporting, people will not have that kind of a trust in you ki, okay, he or she is giving a objective view of that particular news item. That is the most basic value of any journalist, that is to have that kind of objectivity, to be impartial, to be equally critical in analyzing what is going on, what are the two sides, who is, dealing with it better, who is on the pro side, who is on the con side, what are the different angles to the stories. This all has to be produced by a single reporter. So in that case, you need to develop a critical thinking ability. You can't just look at things on face value. You need to keep having that kind of a doubt. When someone says something, you need to question them more. You need to extract more information. See, as I said, everything goes on linking to each other. Curiosity, alertness, impartiality. This is what comes with when you are being a good journalist. Let's look at the next one. Intelligence and courage. Why, sir? Why does a journalist need to be intelligent and courageous, you may say? Courage helps a reporter deflect inevitable criticism. Criticism itself is very inevitable in our world, in the media world, because every report that you put out will have a different opinion from various different kinds of people, from various different strata of people. But your job is to be very firm on what you have reported, because that is the essence of what your learning has given you. If you have ethically put forward every point in a very subjective manner, you don't have to have any kind of inhibitions in terms of what you are reporting. So that is very, very important in that term. Helps to maintain ethics fearlessly. When you are being an ethical journalist, when you are being this objective journalist, you don't have anything to fear about, because you are merely depicting facts as they are. So you have absolutely nothing to be fearful of, and that will give you courage. That will make you look very courageous in the eyes of the public. You should be intelligent in choosing and presenting the right stories in the right manner. Choose the right stories and present them in the right manner. What is this right story and right manner? Again, by now you will have understood there is some sect of stories that are important and of interest to the public. So you have to choose those kind of stories and then present them as is. What does that mean? You have to present them in a manner where it is portrayed properly and where the audience or the viewer or the person who is reading your newspaper has a clear-cut information of what you are actually writing and what you are actually reporting. If the person has been communicated to very clearly all of these points, then you have been a very successful journalist in even the basics of writing your report. So in that case, you need to choose the right stories which are of importance to public and present them in the right manner, wherein it may or may not instill some public conflict, you know. Of course, as a journalist, you must not try to provoke people and make them, you know, come into some kind of conflict, but it is your responsibility to put forward what is right. Being objective, you need to put forward stories which are right. I hope you understand the word right. Next point, language expertise. One of the main qualities of a reporter is to have a good hold on language. It may be any language, not just English. It may be any regional language as well. The regional language media is growing day by day in today's time. So that can also be a very, very good avenue. Good communication is key. Of course, I don't even have to stress. I have stressed on it much till now in all of these sessions. Good communication is absolutely key. Strong hold on language gives you more scope to communicate precisely. The word being precisely. When you talk about communication in a precise manner, it means 100% of what I have thought will be communicated to you in exactly the same manner in which I intended. So if that happens, if you have understood it in exactly that way, then my communication is effective and it has been precise. You need to understand the vibe of the target audience and use appropriate language while writing. You may know the meaning of vibe now. What is the kind of understanding that the target audience has at that particular moment? Different people from different cultural backgrounds have different ways of interpreting a particular writing. You know, that is how you have to decide who is your target audience at that particular moment. Is it the youth? Is it the elderly? Is it people of some particular, you know, linguistic background? Who are they? You need to identify that when writing your news article, and you need to be very clear on that and write exactly for them. Now for India, for example, national newspapers, there are English and there is Hindi. Why don't you see a Kannada national newspaper? That is because obviously the entire nation doesn't know to speak Kannada. But on the flip side, a majority of our population speaks Hindi. And there is also a considerable amount of people in the country who speak English. That is why our nationals, majority of our national newspapers and channels are all in English and Hindi. This is the basic understanding of how language becomes very important. And once you get the vibe of your target audience, it becomes very easy for you to communicate what you actually intended. You must have a strong hold on journalistic language. Now, journalistic language, of course, we will get to know more and more as we go through our sessions. But just to be a little on the surface level, journalistic language is very important and very different from our normal language. Journalistic language, as we have discussed till now, it includes 5 Ws, 1H, etc., etc. The way we put forward information, the way we structure our sentences, everything is different. That is how you need to have a hold on journalistic language, as well as know the vibe of the target audience, so that you can find a middle ground where you can actually write for the audience, you know. That kind of a middle ground has to be found so that your audience understands you better. That is about language expertise. Next one is handling media equipment. What, sir? This is such a silly point. Why are you putting this in qualities of a reporter? There are so many media personnel who don't know how something is recorded, how something is put forward, how something is broadcast. While they are still working in that industry, they don't know that. And that is a very, very sad state of being. That is why this point is of utter importance. Nowadays, media related work has become highly technology oriented. It has become highly technology oriented. You cannot now just say, okay, I know how to write, I will become a journalist. You cannot say that in today's time. You need to know the surrounding technology associated with putting forward your content through your news channel or your news organization. That is very, very important. It thus becomes essential for the reporter to know how to operate every technical element involved. Nobody is asking you to be a master of everything, but especially, for example, if you are a writer or if you are a videographer, you need to know about the camera. You need to know the operations of the camera. You need to know the pros, cons of that camera. You need to know at what lighting will I get good imagery. You need to know all the associated factors. For example, a person who is writing, he or she needs to know in what software I need to type. That is even the most basic element of technology that is involved. Some people don't even know that. They are still sticking to writing. That slows down the process of this entire media journey. That is why you need to know the technology involved. May it be cameras, Photoshop, or even basic typing softwares, whichever would be frequently used by you. You really need to get a grasp on that. It helps to become independent to a certain extent. This is very important. As I have mentioned in my earlier sessions, people in today's world, especially in the media field, are looking for people who can multitask. You can no longer be a one-dimensional media personnel. You need to be a multitasker. You need to be a multifaceted personality in the media field. And knowing your technology better can help you gain some amount of confidence and independence in that direction. So always try to get to know about the equipment that you are going to be involved with. Next one. It's a fairly easy topic. This is faithfulness and neutrality. What does this mean? You need to provide unbiased information. As I have mentioned earlier, neutrality and impartiality are quite, in the same boat. But being neutral means you yourself need to have an open mind to certain things. Impartiality may be related to you presenting things in a very, very, unbiased way, but neutrality refers to you being in the mid ground. So that is very essential. The information must also be reliable and valid. It goes for saying it needs to be valid in the sense it needs to be true, it needs to be accurate, and reliable in the sense it needs to be verified. That information needs to be verified. It helps to maintain faithfulness in the organization and the credibility of the reporter as well. For example, if I give you the correct information again and again, your faith in me will automatically keep going up. It will be steady, it will be strong. So that is the kind of approach we need to have when we are reporting. That is the basis of any media organization. The faith that the people have in that channel or in that organization is what keeps it afloat. And how can we get that? That is through providing unbiased information. This is a key aspect in forming that kind of faith. Next, journalistic knowledge. This is very, very basic. That is why I have put it in the kind of end. This is a complete need to know scenario. Having proper journalistic education is crucial in today's cutthroat world. Knowledge about structure and presentation is a must. The basics need to be strong for any reporter so that his or her journalistic practices and values have a strong foundation. I don't even need to explain this. You guys are studying journalism now. You are being educated in journalism. So that is a big plus point for you. And people in today's time need this journalistic knowledge. It is a must for them, in fact. Because in olden times, people used to just get in if they know how to, run around, write a little, etc., etc. Nobody used to look at degrees in journalism. But now a degree in journalism has become so important because the organizations can't afford to take a chance. News organizations cannot afford to take a chance. They will always prefer a candidate who has formal education in journalism rather than someone who is very skilled but has no education in journalism. So that is the kind of situation, that is the kind of world we are in, to get through the cutthroat scenario that we are in today's time. The competition is severe. And in the media field, of course, there is nothing else that is looked at other than your work. But your work can be polished properly only through formal education. That is very, very essential. So I strongly suggest that you make the best use of these formative years of yours to get to know as much as possible, to train yourself, to improve your skills in all that you're doing, especially if you want to enter the media field. Next, patience. Things take time to happen. Yeah, it is very, very important because as a journalist, you cannot always be impatient to have stories at your beck and call. That means whenever you want, you can't just say, oh, I need a story, let me just go, and you will not find stories immediately. That will come. Those situations will come where you will feel like you are not getting any stories. But you need to have patience. You need to develop that kind of patience. Making a good report takes time. Also, on the flip side, when you have got the information, you need to make a good report. That also requires patience. Unless you are, having that internal patience, you will not be able to focus on actually structuring your news article in a proper manner. So you need to have that kind of patience. Compromising on patience can lead to a disastrous report, failing to meet the required standards. This is a nightmare. This will basically ruin your entire career. So on the bottom line, you need to have patience for everything. First point in life, definitely. But even more importantly, relevant to our subject is in our journalism. On-field reporting will always need more patience as it involves a lot of time consumption. Of course, when you have gone on-field, when you are waiting for something to happen, maybe you are waiting for the Prime Minister to arrive, or for some celebrity to arrive, or for something to happen. You will, first point, as we have discussed, you will be told to rush to the spot. If you have rushed, why will you have rushed? To be first. Now, once you are there, you will definitely need to wait. You will need a lot of patience for that. And trust me, without having that kind of patience, nobody can survive in this field. All the people who are in the journalism field, it is a given that they are quite patient. And that again comes with experience and emotional maturity, etc., etc. But try to develop that kind of patience now on itself. It will be very useful for you all. Next one, basic news values. Why have I put this at the last is because it is very, very basic, and by now you should have those news values inculcated in you. And even if you don't have it right now, please don't worry. Try to make an effort to get it done by the end of this course. And it is a very, very consistent thing to do. It needs consistent effort from your end. You can't take your skill for granted. That is for sure. Please trust this fact. Once you consistently keep practicing, keep thinking about all of the things happening around you in a journalistic perspective, your mind will start getting more tuned to it. And once you start getting more tuned to it, that is when you will get things very naturally. What do I mean by that? It means that the journalistic writing, the journalistic perspective will come to you very naturally. And once that happens, it is set in your subconscious and you can be a very good journalist in future. So the news values need to be maintained at all times by a reporter. What are the values? You need to be ethical, you need to be objective, you need to be, there's so many of these values that you have to have at the very basic level. These values must be adhered to in every report that is made. Every report needs to, have these aspects at the forefront, at the bottom end as well. That should be the baseline on which you write your report, like some kind of guidelines, if you may say so. It brings out the best in every story and helps to maintain the credibility of the entire organization as well. How does it bring out the best in every story? Of course, if you are reporting in a very objective manner, that is only then will you be able to put out the true essence of that particular news item, that news story. And of course, you are one pea in the pod, you are one drop in the ocean, the drop in this huge ocean of your organization, your media organization. If you do well, and if each one of you start doing well simultaneously and similarly, then the entire organization prospers. That is exactly how any media organization, or any organization for that matter, can grow. You have to have that kind of a, an attachment with your organization for that. You must feel that it is yours. Only then will you be able to do justice to your entire work. So that is also very, very important as a journalist. You must look at your work as worship. That is what takes you ahead in life, in any kind of occupation. So that concludes this session of our reporting for semester 3. I hope you have got a very, very clear idea of the qualities that a reporter needs to have. And I pray that all of you will follow this and, make it a part of your subconscious, a part of your daily routine. And ahead, when you become a journalist, of course, these will be very handy. By then, you will be kind of seasoned, is what I hope and pray. So this is your Zubin sir signing off. I'll be back with another interesting session next time. Until then, see you and take care.